Today, we're going to talk about how to look at your MSP business in order to scale it, where to start, what are the challenges that you might find, and what are those unique tricks that you can use to get ahead of the competition and take your business where you deserve to have it, right? At one of those high places. So, for the people that don't know me, and I believe I see a few names that I haven't spoken to so far. My name is Andrei. I am the cybersecurity community leader here at Heimdal. Just changed roles, but I'll still kind of do the same things. So don't worry about it. And I have 6 years here in Heimdal and over 1,000 cybersecurity implementations tied to Heimdal products. But today's session is not about me speaking. I'll actually ask questions today. Today's session is about this guy speaking, which is Mr. Leon McQuade. Guys, I hope that that you guys will be very attentive to the session and ask questions because Leon is not your average speaker. Basically, when I was looking for a speaker to join me for the EMEA session, I needed to look very hard to find the right speaker for you guys. Well, Leon, aside of what he does on a daily basis within his company, and he is a co-founder and chief AI officer when it comes to Think Cloud, and he actually does more than that, but you could not put all the titles over here. He is also a lecturer at the Hull Universities in the program Entrepreneurs in Residence. He talks about innovation, he talks about cybersecurity, technology, GRC, and he's a multiple award winner when it comes to scaling high performance teams. But also, if I'm not mistaken, some of these awards are also for charity and helping the community back. So aside of business, AI, and all of this, he also has time and energy to put into giving back to the community, which I personally think it's simply amazing. I'll let Leon say a few words about him if I didn't manage to capture everything.
No, no, you did a great job, Andrea. And I think, first and foremost, I think growing MSP, we were talking off air on this, is it might sound great with all them fancy titles and all them different roles I've got, but fundamentally, I think the secret to scaling any business is just being a useful and helpful human being first and foremost, and seeking to add value, and the money takes care of itself if you add value is where I'd go.
That's a good play over there, and I hope that more people will actually start thinking like that because when you prove value, in my, I would say, lesser experience than yours, whenever you prove value to others, this is when you actually move forward and evolve. Now, before we actually get into the interview, just to make sure that everyone on the session knows who Heimdal is as well and why we're doing this particular session, let me see why the slide isn't moving, but I'll make it move. Okay, so guys, Heimdal is a Danish cybersecurity company which has the widest product stack that works from the same agent and the same console. Looking at all these products, each of these products on their own, because the console and the agent is fully modular, can actually make your cybersecurity way better. However, we unify it so that we can actually take it further, make them talk to each other, and so on and so forth. But it's not enough to just have a good product. If just having a good product would be enough to scale your business to 1 million and above, then I believe that this would be easy for everyone. However, if you look in the market, you see people even having maybe the best of breed products, maybe they still don't succeed. So let's actually start asking Leon some questions and see exactly what is the difference, what makes the difference. So the first question that I want to ask Leon, and I know that this also came from a few of the attendees because a few sent questions via email, which I appreciate. Thank you. The first question I want to ask Leon is, and let me make sure this appears on the screen. I don't know what's up with GoToWebinar today, but we'll figure it out. So Leon, When can an MSP or where can an MSP see exactly that they're ready to scale? I believe there are some stages in the business, and some people don't know exactly if they are already at a place that is good to think about scaling, or they still need to put in some ground foundation work and then think about scaling. So, in your experience, when is that moment that a business can say, okay, I've done the basics, now I'm ready to scale, I want to go further? Where's that exactly? Where did you find it in the past?
Yeah, great question, Andrei. So I think it's really simple. So if you look at my background on my CV, I've scaled multiple businesses, and how I got into being a co-founder of ThinkCloud. My business partner Scott, he's the technical one out of the pair of us. So for any MSPs listening, one of my go-to books is a book called Traction by Gino Wickman, and it talks about having a visionary and integrator in a business. So I think one of the first things I think is any business I've scaled, so I've scaled the UK's fastest growing suicide prevention charity. It's on a global scale. I scaled a construction business, and I actually used to be a customer of ThinkCloud. So ThinkCloud's been going about 20 years, maybe 21 years, I think it is now. And I became a 50% shareholder about 5.5, 6 years ago. And the reason for that, and the reason for me looking at the MSP space, is I've always scaled every business with technology, but there's sort of three fundamentals first that underpin any business. Number one, you've got to have great people in your business. So you might be a small MSP, there might be three, four, five of you, or there might be 20, 50 to 50 of you. So number one, have we got great people? And you hear us talk about culture all the time, and you've got to have great people. And then the second part of this puzzle is great people build great processes. So you've got the right people, the right processes, and only once you've got that piece in place, then we bring the technology piece in and we scale with technology. So products like Heimdal are allowing us to scale in ways that you couldn't even imagine. And we can get more into the tech later. But back to your question, Andrei. Um, when I joined ThinkCloud, we was doing about 500,000 in terms of revenue. I've been here 5 years. We're putting the same strategies in place that we've done in other businesses, and with the right people, the right process, technology, we're tracking now towards 2.2 million, and we're continually scaling, and it's a model that we're doing. And a couple more slides, I'll go into that in a bit more detail. But I think for me, a business that's ready to scale is a business that's been established. You know there's a need for your product, and I think it's really interesting. And I see this a lot with businesses. You get different types of business owners. So business owners who have an idea, or entrepreneurs who have an idea, and they think it's the next big thing. The ones who are making you write an NDA and keeping it all quiet, they're the ones that are never going to scale, because them niche ideas are so difficult to implement and scale. Whereas if you look at what we're doing, a managed service provider or a managed SSP, and doing security as well, what businesses want is customer service. They want you to add value to their business. They want you to take away their pain. They want you to help them save time and generate more cash, or protect that cash, and ultimately allow them to focus on what they do best. All businesses are exactly the same. So the MSPs or MSSPs, we do just that, don't we? We come in, we have massive value, and then we can take products and services like Heimdal that wrap into our overall service to do things that then businesses just can't do, and you can deliver it cheaper, and for better value. So I think, to link back to your question, is you've got to be at a platform where I think the sweet spot is about 500,000 of revenue. And if you can consistently do that, you're adding value. And then next from that, you've got to get your people, your process, and your technology in alignment so you can truly scale.
Okay, cool. So my main takeaway, which I also had this feeling, is that first of all, this industry is a great one to be in. It's not easy, and I would give you guys that you guys are superheroes. The extent of things that you do is not something that anybody can handle. But this is a good business because you actually add a ton of value and you protect that cash that Leon was mentioning.
But Andre, I think the other side of it as well, if you look at myself, my business partner's been in this industry for 20 odd years or longer. I only came into it really 7 years ago, but I pivoted into it because it's recurring revenue. I've got a lot of skills and knowledge myself of running businesses. I understand what it's like to be a customer, but I don't think there's a better space than being a managed service provider. We get recurring revenue. I was in an industry before where we grew from 3 million to 15 million, but every year I had to go get 15 million pounds worth of new sales. In an MSP, as long as we get the contracts right and we add that value, we sell that contract and it's 36 months, 60 months. It's a fantastic model to be part of. I think I'm very blessed to be in this model where I think some MSPs look at it as a bit of a challenge, but I think it's you don't know what you don't know. If you've only ever been an MSP, you don't know what it's like in the other world, do you?
Okay, that's good, and I hope that you guys managed to extract a few of the things from this one. Let's see what's the next question. What challenges should we expect on this journey? If you think about the biggest challenges that you guys faced moving from 500,000 to 2.2, what were the main ones that stuck out the most?
So there's two bits. So I think where we scale differently, um, labour shortage is a challenge, getting the right skills. So you look at cybersecurity staffing shortage is a huge challenge. So linking up with the right partners like yourself enabled us to scale. But we approached it a little bit different. So my background was from construction. In construction, we had a history of bringing apprentices through, and you bring apprentices through, and you train your own. And what I was noticing within this business when I joined is we kept on trying to buy skills in, but because each MSP is very different. You'll have different customers. You'll attract your own type of niche of customers that you work well with. Trying to bring external skills in, I think, is one of the biggest challenge, and you can do it to a point with senior leaders and senior managers. But I also think you've got to grow your own talent, which is a longer play. So if you look at the things we did, we used to have offices that was like on a big business park away from the city centre. And one of the first things we were looked at was moving to a central location in the city centre, making it more accessible so we could get staff could get in, we could attract more younger talent, and we also tried to make it so that if we were going for meetings, we're in the city centre. There's restaurants, there's bars, there's things we can do to bring clients in. And so location for me was key, and I think it's even more paramount because we've gone to this remote working, and that's okay for a point. I think it brings challenges, but I don't think you can build a true culture if you don't have some time in the office. And I think you've got to have a really cool space so that you can build that culture and that environment. And I think you've got to train your own. So I think you need the right partners, again, because like Heimdal, where you guys are incredible for us, not only do we get the tools, we get the training, the education, the knowledge. So it really helps wrap around that service so we can scale.
Thank you, thank you. So yeah, let's move to the next question and see what else we can share to the audience. I know that this is a space that, if not the hottest, it's in top three over there. Let's talk customer acquisition. How do we get the customers? What is it, a short type of approach, short term type of approach? Is it a longer type of approach? How do you think is the best way, or how did you succeed in looking at customer acquisition? Because if we don't have the customers, we don't have the business, right? So I believe
Yeah,
that this is one of the questions that everybody actually joined for, right?
yeah, and I think we was talking about this off air, weren't we? And I think a couple of bits on this. What I want to sort of link with. So when I joined the business, I didn't expect the customer life cycle or the deal life cycle to be as long as it is. I used to sell, so I was from a different industry, selling big contracts, and I worked with large, massive, clients. But what really shocked me was the life cycle of a deal. So people can be locked on 36-month deals, 60-month deals. So that really took me back. I wasn't prepared for that at all. But then I did what I always do, and this is what my business partner is about this as well. But I think there's four types of luck, and I wanted to talk about this, Andrei. And the first type of luck is blind luck, completely by accident, out of your control, winning a lottery, right? So we can't do much about that, but we do have that. But the second type of luck, I love this type of luck, and I think this is what MSPs can do. I call it look through motion. And what I mean by that is when we're at 500,000, I remember me and my business partner used to have to share rooms, and we didn't have enough money to pay ourselves at times. It's been a challenge, right? But what we did have was we had look through motion, and I call that like your hustle energy. You're out there, you're meeting people, but there's a key differentiator I want to make sure people understand. You hear this hustle, this grind, all these, I think they're quite toxic words, but when I use the word hustle energy or I use in the ecosystem. So what are you doing as an entrepreneur out in your ecosystem? So like I'm in my ecosystem now, adding value, I hope, to other MSPs, other entrepreneurs. I'm trying to add value to our partners. I'm trying to add value in that ecosystem. And the question is, through your work there, in your sales team, and I think the other key point I hadn't clarified, Andrei, is we've tried multiple ways to scale. We've tried to bring a sales team in, it hasn't worked. We've tried different ways, but the way that we think works is what we call principal-led sales. So naturally, up until, and I think this will be the same if we're up to about 6 million where we're heading, is people want to speak to the business owners. Me and my business partner, we naturally have a weight because we have that title business owner. I don't know why, but we do. So what we've done within our sort of strategy is really tried to pivot down on that. So working with the university, adding value in them streams. So we've really tried to niche on that. And then what we've built is a sales admin team around us. So we can show up and do the main deals and in there, but we've got a full ecosystem around us supporting us. So we're not doing the day-to-day in them areas. And then I think if we go back to that, so you've got blind luck, you've got look through motion, but the more you get out there and crash and bang into things and meet people, what you do is you expand your look surface. You get a bigger look surface, don't you, Andrei? You get to meet more people, and you increase your openness to colliding with someone, right? So you're out there, and we're out there, and then what that links into is the third type of look, and I love this type of look, and I call it look through preparation. So, Andrei, you talked to me. I sent you some slides late today, didn't I? Because I've not been very well, right? And you was like, "Oh, you've added a lot of value there. I hope, right?" But these are the same slides I've used for ages. It's the same message. I'm going to teach, the other MSPs what I talk about. But you were saying this is a lot of value you've put in there. No, I'm prepared. I'm prepared about what I'm going to talk about, what I'm going to value. So all of a sudden, I've got lucky breaks. I've got a lucky break to this webinar. I've got a lucky break that Heimdal are going to put this out on their platforms. It's going to go on YouTube. We've been talking about doing a podcast and all these other things because I'm prepared. I'm spotting opportunities that align with where I'm going, and I can expand and be more lucky. And then the fourth type of luck, when we wrap all this up again, is you get luck that's unique to you. So all of a sudden, then, we've built a brand, we're adding value, and we'll show you some actual tactics and tools in a moment on that. But all of a sudden, we get luck that is unique to me, or unique to ThinkCloud, unique to our brand, because we build a strong community, a strong client workplace, we build goodwill. And if you go look at us, one of our key metrics is we're the most Google reviewed provider. And we've got the most Google reviews by an absolute country mile. And we keep pushing for that and keep pushing for that. We will be relentless with it because all of a sudden I can now say that we're the most recommended managed service provider in the UK, right? That's based on Google reviews, right? And it's a marketing tactic, it's something different, but you don't get a good Google review if you don't give good service as well, do you, Andrei, right? So I think they're my sort of the three areas in terms of look. But then let's bring that back to marketing. And I think these three things really before we get into the slides and show you the steps. But I think MSPs really struggled with this, and I struggled with this because I took on I'm like the visionary, but I took on the marketing seat and I tried to understand that because I was a customer. And what I realised, and I think everyone, if they just follow these three steps, you'll have massive value. Was one, you need to build multiple audiences, and let me just define that. You've got to work out where your audience sit, live, and breathe. And some of that is online. Yeah, it is online, but some of it might be in different business networking communities. We was part of BNI for many years and different groups. So find out your networks that these people go to, other business owners. But don't go to them groups with an attitude that you're going to sell to them. Go with an attitude where the second thing is, so build multiple audiences, online and offline. My recommendation would be to pick one platform online. I see people trying to pick every platform. We've just picked, we're on every platform now, but our main platform is LinkedIn. That is our main platform. Second on that, as the MSP owners, grow a personal brand and be bold, be brave. It's awkward. No one wants to do it. I never wanted to do it. But build a personal brand, because we want people, when we walk into a room, to know our faces, who we are. We build instant know, like, and trust. So build relationships with them audiences. And then the third thing, once you've built multiple audiences, you've built relationships with them audiences, then we can start commercializing them audiences. And the truth on the matter is, it takes time. And you might be sat there saying, I don't want to go public speak. I don't want to do talks. I never used to want to do talks like I'm doing now. But you can go do training. I went and did training. I joined different groups. I got professionally trained. It's awkward. No one wants to talk. But you have to. If you want to grow a business, there has to be one of you who's prepared to get out there, represent the business, bring some energy. And when I go back to my 4 stages of luck, we've got to get out there and hustle and move. We've got to expand our knowledge base, and then we've got to be prepared so we can seize them opportunities. I mean, if you want to link into that a bit more, Andrei, we've prepared a couple of slides, haven't we, I think?
Before we get into that, two amazing things. We have a question coming from John. I will read that in a minute, but thinking about what you said with it feels awkward at the beginning. Guess what? Why is that a big advantage? Because a lot of people will say, I'm not prepared to speak. I don't want to be in front of people. But that's where you get the advantage, because if you're willing to put in that work and go through that small awkward phase, then all of a sudden you are ages in front of your competitors. And John is asking, mostly you, right? Do you think a model of an all-inclusive package, an example, X pounds per user with support, licensing, security all included, works better than selling multiple line items, as an example, support, MS licensing, security products separately? Or
Yeah.
is it easier to start with a single product SKU and then sell up from that? How do you
So
think it's
it's a great question, John. And I think the honest answer is, if you go down the line item, you're going to turn yourself into a commodity. You've got no unique value proposition then. And when I first joined the business, we went through the stages of 3 pricing. We had gold, silver, platinum, and that was what all the experts was telling us. But me sat there looking at that, I rolled with it at first because I'm thinking that's what the experts are telling us. Everyone is going through it. But I looked at it through the eyes when I used to be a customer. I didn't understand half of these things in these packages. I didn't believe in some of the packages, because the science, what you get told is, put everything in the middle package because everyone will go for the middle package. Some people will naturally go for the best. But all of a sudden, John, what you end up doing if you're doing that is, like I said, we're selling precious metals, gold, silver, platinum. No, we're not. We're selling a service. We're selling a return on investment. We're selling, saving time. And I think if you only have to look at the big brands, Nike, for example, they're not selling trainers, they're selling motivation, aren't they? That's what they're selling. You've got to look at, you're selling on emotion. And I think where we've started to succeed is, yes, we do sell items, offline items, but we do have a package where we wrap it all encompassing. And again, you've got to look at it unique to your business, because as you'll see, John, in a couple of slides, I'm going to talk about some of the unique value proposition items we've got, where I think we have truly got a unique value proposition. And I'll just talk about this now for you, John. So from a marketing point of view, if we talk about building multiple audiences, so what we've done is we write a newsletter once a month. So there's a newsletter there. I believe it's of high quality. It's not all about business, it's about tech. It's probably about 50% about tech, about business information. It's probably about 20% tech. It's more about solving problems. We do mention tech in there, but we have a really high quality newsletter. We send out to a dream list of clients who we want to prospect. It also goes out to our customers, and I'm really proud of that. I believe people would pay good money for it. That's the mindset we have on that. We also turn that content into a blog as well, and we're getting about 15,000 to 20,000 hits on our website now. And now the interesting thing on that sounds amazing, but we're now starting to get into the mindset of how can we commercialize them audiences. We've added value for years. We're now getting into it. Right, we're getting the views, we're getting the clicks. How can we come up with offers? So other things that we've done unique is we've built what we call a cloud academy, and we use it for customer onboarding. We use it for training of staff, and we've got all different training on there. But then what I've niched down on in probably the last 4 years is AI. I've gone big. I'm dyslexic, so my unique story, and everyone has their own unique backstory, is I'm dyslexic. I've always used technology over the years to do everything I could do. We've been using AI for many, many years. It's nothing new. I used to use products like Drag and Dictate and all of these other tools. So I've put a course together that I think is of high value that people will pay for. We do charge for it. So there's another one for you there, John, is people have to pay for it, and we bring revenue in off it. But on the other side, if I'm trying to build a relationship, like doing a talk today or I meet with someone, I can give them a discount code, and people love a discount code. So all of a sudden, they come in on the platforms, and then other things we do. We have a podcast. So we started doing a podcast probably 5 years ago, and when you look at some of the positions I've held, I was a director and trustee of a charity called Andy's Man Club. It's the fastest growing suicide prevention charity in the country. And we scaled beyond belief. I've only just recently exited, and the reason I've exited is because it doesn't need me anymore. We've scaled it, it doesn't need me. As much as I could have stayed on there, I now want to focus solely on the business. But I helped that charity for two reasons. One, because I think it was the right thing to do. It was my social good. And two, inadvertently, by adding all that value, it actually grew my own personal brand. It was actually, I believe, that way that helped me get the role within the university and in other areas. So I'm still helping my community within the university. That's my charity work now. I'm moving away from the charity work with the Man Club. But what that enabled me to do when we talk about the 4 stages of luck, because I've been out there colliding and crashing in and meeting people, we started and had an idea 5 years ago that these interesting people we meet would get on the podcast. One second. Can you hear me there?
Yeah, we can hear you. And we have questions coming in from the audience. I cannot wait to start reading them out.
It came up that it was going to connect to my AirPods, so I don't know what happened there. But no, as long as you can hear
me.
No, so what I'm just going back to there, though, is we just decided to start doing a podcast, and we was talking about this off air, weren't we, Andrei? And at first, nobody was listening to us. We don't pay any money for SEO. Sorry, we use SEO. We're big on SEO, but we don't do any paid ads, because there's two types of traffic: traffic you pay for or traffic you earn. And we're playing the long game to really own traffic. But when we first started doing the podcast, no one was listening to us. No one cared about us. But what's really interesting, we were talking off air on this, weren't we, Andrei, is I go back and look at the original shows, and there's people still listening to them. We've grown to over 10,000 hours of listening now, and we get lots of great people on it. And is it on the next slide? Because I can't see the slides. Is it on the next slide to show some of the guests we've had? Is that there?
Yep.
So just to show that. So this is our podcast page on our website. But for example, we've had Dan Cockrell, the Vice President of Disney, on the podcast, adding massive value. And I might hear you say, how on earth did you get the Vice President of Disney on your podcast? And I'll tell you an interesting story, and it goes back through the 4 stages of luck. I was at an MSP event called IT Nation Evolve, learning from my peers. It was a 3-day event. Dan Cockrell was talking on day 3. Me and my wife had gone from Manchester to London to go see Coldplay, a band play. And I was meant to be travelling back, and there was a massive train strike. So I just thought it'd be really cool to add a bit of value on my platform of LinkedIn to say, I'm really looking forward to going back to see Dan Cockrell. I tagged him in the post, put that I'm on a train strike. And by luck, Dan Cockrell reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, what time are you going to be here? Because I'll make sure that you can still get a seat. I just started having this conversation with Dan Cockrell in LinkedIn, just complete luck. Managed to make it back to the event on time, walk in. As I walk in, Dan Cockrell waves to me, knows me. Never met him before, just a LinkedIn post, right? Again, my 4 stages of luck. I've put a post out there, I've prepared. I watch him speak, we build a relationship. Afterwards, I just simply go ask him, will you come on the podcast? And he comes on the podcast, right? And my point I keep making is we have people like Bob Berg, who wrote the book, The Go-Giver. We have loads of amazing people. I'm prepared to go ask these people, but Dan Cockrell wouldn't have come on our podcast if we hadn't done the other 100 shows. So when he goes on our website, he sees that we've done other things. I needed that first podcast to get Dan Cockrell on the podcast. Does that make sense, Andrei?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, guys, look at it as short wins too, but look at it as a long-term game. Never try to limit yourself to if it's not happening now, it won't happen in the future. And that's how I look at my webinars as well. Just a small parenthesis. I get contacted by people on my email that I never knew. They saw a webinar I did 1 year or 2 years ago, and they mail me because I put my email at the end over there, out of the blue, all of the sudden. So even if sometimes you do something and you don't see immediate result, think also of the delayed gratification and how much this will compound. By the way,
And also,
Leon.
Andre, to
Uh-huh.
add to that, just to add to that, I was with a prospect yesterday who booked a meeting through our website, and when I'm sat there, he's talking to me as if he really knows me, and then I'm asking him where did you discuss, and he listens to the podcast. He's been getting a newsletter for over a year. Um, he's sat there as if he knows me, and when we go start talking through a deal, it's done. The deal's done. We've already got the know, the like, the trust. He's come to different events for us, but I didn't know until I'm sat in front of him and I start asking questions. He's already done the training, he's done this, he's done that, and on all of these little things where we were talking off air, we might not be able to prove an ROI, but I always say this in marketing, Andre. Do you like a beer, Andre? Do you like a beer? Do you drink? You
Yeah.
do? Yep. So the question is, if you had 8 pints of beer, which pint got you drunk? Which one got you drunk?
It's actually all of them, but I would consider the eighth one as being the one that made me drunk. But if you think about it, it started from the first pint.
And my point
Yeah.
is, for marketing, and this is the hardest thing. Sometimes when I have to challenge my business partner, is numbers, more numbers. That is a detail guy, and I'm more creative. When we was first putting the podcast together, and the cost it costs us to edit it, and all the work we do, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that we spend, in terms of time. And I can't prove an ROI on it. I can't. And I use the analogy of getting drunk. We've got all of these different mediums going out, but I know that they all come back together. So sometimes creativity, it doesn't fit inside of the system, and I always use, if a MD is trying to challenge you on return on investment, use the 8 pints, with a it's a good challenge.
I'll mention that one in the post webinar email. John has a follow-up question for you. You
Yep.
mentioned the dream list, the clients that you're targeting with the newsletter. Can you expand on that? What's the criteria that makes up your dream client? How
Yeah,
do
I
you
think
look
so.
at
I
it?
think yeah. So we've been working really hard on this, and it all depends on your demographic, where your city is, the area you serve. So the trail of thought that we've been following, if you live in a city that's got less than 500,000, so where we live it's 350,000, you should technically have two demographics. Now, don't get this confused, and I struggled with this at first. You can have different niches or niches if you're in America, and I'm going to give an example in some of the later material on this. So don't get confused with your marketing materials talking to a specific audience. And when we talk about target profile, because what we did at first was we only work with manufacturers, we only work with X, Y, and Z, and we tried to really target, and we still do that. Don't get me wrong, we still can target. But what we started to realise was um, there's a sweet spot, a size of business that we work with. So for us, any business that is really 50 users and looking to grow to 250 to 300 is a real good sweet spot. We can really grow with them businesses because they're at the point where they maybe need an IT manager, or they might be employing an IT manager. So we can do a co-managed service or a fully managed service, and we can plug really well in with that. Now, because our region is small, we've got 350,000. We haven't got the luxury of having loads of them, but we're starting to expand because we do national now. We do all across the country, but we will take on smaller clients as well if they're the right fit. But you've got to be brave, because one of the first things me and Scott did when we come together was looked at our client bank, and if you really do true time emotion, and look at what it's costing you to service a client and truly track your time, one of the first things we did was look at that, and we actually went and sacked some customers, because you might think that there's £100 or £200 or £1,000 even that you're making, but actually you're over. A lot of times, what I found was we was over delivering and wasn't charging a portion properly. So you've got to start looking at capacity, because your engineers are always going to be busy, but are you bringing in the wrong type of client, and are they not profitable? And what I saw was we wasn't reporting on that properly at first. We are now, so we've got a real good metric now where we know that, are we undercharging, or are we not delivering effectively? And we've got metrics now where we know where we are. But I don't think MSPs traditionally charge enough for the services at all. And I think we do what John was mentioning earlier. We start doing line items and we turn ourselves into a commodity, when all of a sudden, for us, we've got an amazing team. We've got a CISSP, which is the highest level you can get in security. To go into businesses to add value from a non-technical point of view, because yeah, we've got all the technical prowess of Heimdal and other tools, but we need a CISSP, we believed, to go in and educate our clients, because it's not a technology conversation. It's a people conversation, a value conversation. The reason I've studied so much in AI is so I can go add value in that space. My business partner's a CTO, so we've got a team of experts around us who can go add value over and above the technology. So I hope that is answering the question there for you, Andrei.
Yep. And as I said at the beginning, it's not just the technology, it's what you do with it. Now, I'll just ask you another question coming from Simon, but it's going to be just this way or that way, so that we can actually go into the slides, because I know you have a lot of tactics ready for the audience. Simon is asking you, would you say it's better to go introduce your company in person to a potential customer, or send an email? What do you think it's the best way? Is it a combination of both, or is it one versus the other? Is it at a different time? How do you usually do that?
I think you need a multi-step approach, and I think, but the key to it is, I think you need to qualify out early and hard. So we have a paid cyber risk assessment. That's our entry qualifying product, and we qualify hard out on that. And the way we do it, and you can see it on our website, you can jump on our website and book a 15-minute call. We've got a sales admin who will go through and qualify this company. We qualify out hard really quick, which has taken us a lot of time and confidence to get there. Sometimes I struggle with confidence myself on that, because you want the sale. But every time we go away from that model, the clients that we bring in don't value our services. So for me, you want to get to the know as fast as possible so you can move on. And then that introduction piece, if you've done a good enough job on your website and your assets and out there, they should know about your company anyway. And this comes from, I forget the name. It's called Marcus Sheridan, the visual sale I read. He used to sell swimming pools, and he talks about there's a massive recession in America where, when you got a swimming pool, the way you paid for it was refinancing your house. So all of a sudden, there's a big market crash. You can't refinance your house. He's struggling to sell swimming pools. He had to lay a lot of staff off. So what he did was, he created a lot of content that answered all of the questions. So he also wrote another book called You Ask, You Answer. They Ask, You Answer. And he created a lot of content so that it answered all of the questions that a prospect possibly could have. And he learned that when he was going to sell a pool, the prospect was more educated than him sometimes, when in all this information. And he tracked that on average, there needed to be 30 pieces of information that they could look at. So within our strategy, if you go and research our website, everything, we've got lots of information there. So people who are coming to you already know you. Now, if you're starting small and you haven't got that luxury, I would recommend doing it the opposite way, one to many. So I went to BNI, I went to local networking groups, and I would do talks like this, adding value, and I would always have a call to action. So I would be talking about the company all the time, and then you've got to have your time as money. People only get a 15-minute meeting with me, and they only get a meeting with me if they've been qualified. You've got to use scarcity. Now, originally I only did that because I didn't have the time, but actually the people like that, you've got to be a bit difficult to get hold of. Because if you're too eager, I think sometimes if you're a little bit too eager and you give too much away, I think you position yourself as desperate for the sale. Whereas you've got to have that confidence that you are the expert and you can go in and solve that problem.
Nice, nice. Now, I know you prepared a lot of valuable things for us, including a bit of a framework. So could you please walk us through at least these resources that I'm looking at right now on the screen?
Yeah, so I think when I was preparing for this, what I wanted to say is, I think in any business you do, people are coming to you to buy IT services, so they're already in front of you. They know that they need IT services or security. That's what they want, right? Or they won't be in front of you in the first place, or even open your email. But then, what I think we're doing well, and I'm obsessed with, and business partners and the team is, we're obsessed with client success. So, for example, we use a piece of software. It's an IT support app on the phone. They can use it on the desktop. We customize that around our clients. We can also use it with the two-factor thing to send push notifications, added layers of security. We've then gone and built our cloud academy, so we can use that for onboarding. We use it for Microsoft training. We've got cybersecurity training in there, and we've also got courses on there of how to scale your business up. So some of the things I talked to you about marketing, we've built them into courses as well. And you might say, well, why is an MSP talking about marketing? Well, I'm talking about it because it adds value to them businesses, but it means that I've got to back up what we're doing, and it holds me accountable. So you're practicing what you teach, but it's just an easy way for us to create content as well because we're doing what we say we do. And then I think the third thing that we've done really uniquely is build a partnership with a company called Winning Moves. They're a social enterprise in the UK, and where that relationship came from was during the pandemic. Obviously, we all went into lockdown. There was meant to be a big piece of funding available for businesses to get digital transformation consultancy. And I'd applied for a lot of our clients to get it. And unfortunately, the company who was delivering it couldn't deliver it digitally. So back to my four stages of luck, I just reached out to the owner of this, won the piece of work and said, we've got a lot of clients. I believe we could help you get this delivered. And through luck, we ended up delivering 70 outputs for the local authority in digital consultancy. We did it all through paper. It was all manual. It was a consultancy. But what came of it, we built a framework with Winning Moves and built a digital app. And now we've got a reporting tool where we can give consultancy around the digital drivers of the business. And Andrei, I think just to link into that, we go into the next slide around that framework because what I believe businesses need, if you're going to position yourself as an expert, you need to have a framework. And this is one framework that we've used. I talk about this a lot. You can swipe and deploy it. Just please give us credit and reference myself and ThinkCloud. But we say central to a business is data, right? So if you're going in there talking about security or IT services, we need to know where the data is. And then we need to have a bit of a push and a pull scenario going on. So we need to have the security team want to lock all that data down, yeah. But me, what I want to be able to access that data. I want to also make that data intelligent so I can generate high revenues. I can do more with that data. So we use that to start talking about this push and pull because you can't have one without the other, and there's a complexity around that. And then where we take that next into a bigger model where we add value, and we call this the digital transformation framework. And again, you can swipe and deploy this, but you just need to also reference ThinkCloud within that. But
So, ladies and gentlemen, do you see that actually Leon is actually doing what he preaches? Like he is literally offering you guys to take this as a framework, just to reference ThinkCloud and who was the initial creator of the framework. So I love this, that you really are representing what you preach.
Yeah, thanks, Andrei. But I think the big challenge we've got, and the reason why we do that is, for many years, knowledge has been locked up on it and been hoarded, and I don't believe that's the right thing to do. So I think within marketing and within your strategy, you've got to give all your best stuff away for free, because people, I'll take that. Some people take it and run with it and do their own thing with it, but I guarantee you, Andrei, because I know and live and breathe this framework with our team, we'll implement it in our own way, and different and be unique. But when you look at any business, and MSPs look at this now, you've got to look at your maturity around your leadership strategy and culture, and then underpinning that, business gets really simple. Value capture is about how you attract customers, retain them, and grow them. And what we start looking at though in this framework is what digital tools you use across this. So the digital tools that you would use around attracting customers and retaining them and growing them, I'd also argue they're the same tools that you would use for attracting and retaining staff. Then we move into value creation, and it's all about the customer value proposition and the customer experience. What digital tools are you using there? So if you look at what we just showed you there, is we're using an IT support app. We've got a training academy for value delivery. So if you look at value delivery in terms of learning development processes, we've got a training academy, so you can learn knowledge there. We've got a newsletter, and again, we're bringing all these different tools together, and then underpinning everything in what you do is data security, compliance, and financial information, which we call value protection. Now, taking that model a step further, if we just push on to the next slide, please, Andrei,
And this is where it gets very interesting, guys. Over here, I
so
believe
we
it's
look,
the time where everybody takes screenshots.
yeah. So we look at this model, and we do this in our office where you can do it with we've got one of these massive print on the wall. We can do it over Teams as well. You can do it in different software. But basically, you map out with Post-it notes the different tools and strategies that you use. So everything in blue there, if I'm going to help a business scale, and this is my own business as well, we need to have all them things in place. So we need to have a business plan. We need to have a vision, mission. We need to have core values, because the core values manage the culture. We need to have KPIs and scorecards. And then we also need to have an internal communication strategy and external. And a lot of companies struggle with this. But what I mean by that is, what digital tools do you use? So you're using Teams, are you using, what are you using? Whereas some businesses use WhatsApp and other things, and they're not secure business class tools. But COVID showed that we need to have an internal and external, because some people use Teams, some people use Meet. We're using GoToMeeting today, Zoom. No longer is it acceptable to say that I just use Microsoft. Businesses use more than Microsoft. They use a whole plethora of tools, and we need to document them strategies so we can manage where information flow is going. Next, everything in yellow are different pieces of software. So within the tool that we have, we will benchmark the different pieces of software and ask if they're aware of these software, and we will map out the timeline they've used it and start looking at, is that software the best for the business? And then we start looking at the things in red. Things in red are more traditional IT things, I would say, that we need to be thinking about. And the reason I put in red for the MSPs to understand is, most MSPs will be managing the Microsoft environments and their outline IT. But when we start talking about cybersecurity, we start talking about shadow IT. And we can only protect a business if we understand all of the digital tools they are using. So this really helps us map out that digital landscape. And then the key areas we start looking at as well is the ones in red are like your productivity and collaboration software. So that's where you look at Microsoft. We also do Google Workspace, although we do the pair. But what tools are they using to communicate and collaborate? That space is changing faster than ever before. You've got Canva documents, you've got Facebook Workplace, you've got a whole different suite of tools now. And then we get to the point in artificial intelligence, and this is the reason why I've pivoted into that space over the last 5 years, because people are using tools that have got artificial intelligence built in, and some of it, to be honest, is just automation. It's not even artificial intelligence. So they think that they're using artificial intelligence. But where I think as MSPs we need to be prepared for is, people are going to be spinning up large language models like Llama, and it's free open source. So only 18 months ago, ChatGPT 4 is unveiled. I think about 6 months ago, sorry, and that model is now available open source. And I think with that, Andrei, is, and I'm really passionate about teaching this, but when a technology comes along that is so life changing, and look at Mercedes-Benz, they created ABS braking, analog braking systems. When that technology is so revolutionary, they make it open source, so it's available for everybody to do greater good. Now, the interesting thing with Llama, Meta or Facebook, I'll have you know that they've released it open source because it's the right thing to do. It was actually leaked, it was hacked for a torrent, Andrei, so I found that quite funny. But my thing is, what businesses I think need to be prepared for. Businesses are going to be running their own artificial intelligence and machine learning models. And I think it presents a great opportunity for us businesses, because we could do the hosting of that platform, the security of that platform, and it opens up a bigger discussion. And then that links back into your cloud-based computing, and then your file storage, because we need to know where all that data is going. Because I think what's changing at the moment in security is these AI models need data. I think it presents a massive risk for businesses, because we used to want to spread that risk across multiple platforms, didn't we? But actually, we're trying to make our footprint smaller, which means in some ways, if we've got to protect it more than ever. And then linking back into that, you've got company intranets with SharePoint, and then underpinning all of it is your cyber security tools as well, and that's where Heimdal come in amazingly. You could put probably 50 different post-it notes for all the different services and solutions you do there. But I wanted to share that because That's our model. That's how we're adding unique value. We can, company directors can understand this, business leaders can understand it, team leaders can understand it, to CTOs can understand it. So again, I just wanted to share that because that's a unique model that we do. And something that we've
Nice.
just developed is we've developed a reporting tool for that we are going to be taking to market for MSPs. If anyone on the call is interested in learning more about how you can use these tools and license some of these tools, you can connect to me on LinkedIn and we can have a conversation.
And by the
What's the
way,
next
guys,
slide?
I do have all the contacts for Leon, including podcast, newsletter, and everything in the post session email. And we also have upcoming slides where you can get capture Leon's contact. But don't worry about it. You will have the means to reach out.
Yeah, and then just thinking where I'm going with this as well. So again, and I want to stress this to you guys. So yeah, we sell in cybersecurity, but we've gone down the route of AI as well, adding value. 'Cause that's what everyone's interested in. But you guys need to find your own niche. We've created content where something as simple as turning ourselves into a Disney character. But the reason I'm talking about turning yourself into a Disney character, we've even got a live avatar of me you can interact with. We can link it back to security because what if someone steals my credentials or my identity? So my question is, what value are you adding back into your communities? What are you doing? What's unique to you? How are you being remembered? What are you teaching? And so you're getting remembered is where I'm pushing, Andrei. And then do you want to move on to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
And then
And this
linking
is the
back into
video.
this, it's a video, yeah. So just linking back in if you play this. So then once you've brought all that together, and if you look at what we're doing, we can go out and do talks. We can add value. People can then go and buy these courses, or we can give them away for free. And it's just another way of adding value. Again, that course is probably 50 minutes of content that I've put together. Yes, it took a lot of time to do at first, and I've got better over time. But you've got to start somewhere, and you've got to build some value for your communities. But then once you've built this content and you've got it, I think it's on the next slide. Is it the next slide? I can't see it. So then all of a sudden, what you can start doing with that content is, this is an example where I'm working with the Personal Finance Society. It's one of the oldest institutes in the UK. They've reached out to me, and I've been going on a UK tour, speaking at different stadiums around artificial intelligence, security. But one of the things I do is I give free access to this course when I'm speaking. But I've taken that content, that same content, and I've just niched it down to a particular market, so it's more bespoke to that market. And these are the things that I believe that are really helping us to grow as an MSP. We've got something more than just cybersecurity to talk about. We're putting a face in front of it, and then we're trying to build a brand like that. And any questions on that, Andrei, from your side?
No, not in on this particular space, but I believe this ties in better if we go back to this slide, right? The
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
business mission, business vision, core values, culture, and business plan. And guys, as you've seen it, there's you need to be present where your peers at, where your customers spend time, and also deliver on a long-term plan. And if I'm thinking about it in whatever other conversations I had with other people in the space, there's a wide variety of tools, right? You think about must-have technologies, but the tools do not make your business by themselves. It's important for you to put your services and your personal feel on it. And I wanted to ask you a question, Leon, about Think Giant.
Yes. So there's a great tool. So there's a product called Giant. It's a psychometric tool. We can share links out on this because you was asking me what was one of the things that helped us grow, and one of the bits I missed over is it's a psychometric tool, and you can use it for understanding that you're different types of personalities. And the way the tool works is you might have heard of DISC profiling, insights, Myers Briggs. There's all these different types of psychometric tools, but the best one I've found is a product called Think Giant, and we can share links. We can give people on the call free access to a free survey for themselves. But it'll understand what your natural traits and tendencies are, and ultimately how you like to receive information, process information. And if we keep it real simple, imagine four boxes, and we've got a line going down and a line going up there. we have what we call above the line thinkers, and these above the line thinkers in Giant's world are nurturers, and we also have on the opposite of them we have connectors. And if we was looking at that and talking on a forest, if we was in a forest, a nurturer would be like a tranquil turtle in the forest, making sure that they're looking after everybody. And when they make decisions, their decision making filter is very much people first over tasks. So they will make a decision based on people and values first. And these people are also very sort of focused in the here and now. So you could also argue they're a bit more introverted. So they're your sort of your nurturers. Opposite to that, you would have what you call your connectors. And your connectors are a bit like in this forest, your much loved monkeys. So they'd be up the trees, looking into the future, having loads of fun, quite extroverted. But again, their decision is mainly on people first, and but they're more future orientated. So they can communicate with the nurturers, but they're because they're a people first, but they're processing future versus the now. Then we have what we call your below the line thinkers. So the bottom left, exactly the same as the nurturer, where they're very focused on the here and now, but the decision making is made on tasks and results. These guys are what we call your guardians, and if it was in that forest, your guardians would be a bit like your competent camels. They'd be making sure they've got perimeter fencing set up. They'll be making sure that the nurturers have got different chopping boards. They'd be doing risk assessments, and when they got bored of doing risk assessments, they'd be categorising what type of trees are in them forests. And then next to that, you have what you call your leading lions or your pioneers, and these guys are focused in the future, but very much on tasks. And your immature pioneers wouldn't even be in that forest. They'd have gone and found a bigger and better forest and come back and said, "Look, we're all going." But your mature pioneer would come back and say, "Look, I found a bigger and better forest over there. It's going to sustain our life for many years and generations to come." Nature, I know you're going to be really upset because you don't want to leave here because you're very connected, but connectors get down from them trees and stop pissing about, come and help pack up. And they'd say to the Guardian, can you create me some lists and get us some plans to go together so I can look at it. And if anything goes wrong, I'll protect you, right? And just that real simple story I've just told you there, you can use that to understand your people, yourself. You can use it in sales. And that story there, when you look at all of the other tools, sometimes you need a degree to be able to understand the different profiles and personalities. Giant, where I think it's an absolute game changer to be used on your core culture and your business. It can be explained to an apprentice and it can be explained to a CEO. We'll put links in there so you can take the 5 voices assessment. But for me, that was one of the biggest game changers I ever learned in my own personal development and professional development. And then when we're hiring people, we hire them based on the profile if they will fit into the team. And it's not that one voice is better than another. It's making sure we have got the balance of all of the voices. So me and my business partner are what we call nemesises. So I'm a connector sort of in the future. I'm creative as well, and he's very much in the here and now. And when we didn't understand this, we would clash. But now we understand that we're able to have meetings, and I'm able to say to him, right, you're not going to be a guardian right now and ask me all difficult questions and due diligence. We're going to collaborate and shape something. Once we've done that bit, let me go away and think because I'm going to prepare. But can you send me 10 questions that you're going to ask me that I need to prove to you? And then we work in a team with different voices. So for me, Giant has been an absolute game changer, and we've got a link where they can take some free assessment. It's free for personal use, but you can use it for your business. We use it across our business, and it's been revolutionary.
Superb. I actually wanted to ask you, how do you hire for success? How should you look at the clients when you talk to them? But I believe that the giant
Yeah,
would
just
actually figure that one.
but linking back to that, it links back
Yeah,
into
yeah. If you could send me the
yeah,
link so that we can share it with everyone, that would be
yeah,
lovely. I know we're actually on time right now. We're 1 minute over. So
good.
guys, this is where you can find Leon. All of this information will be also in the post email that will come to you. Please do share your feedback with us in that survey because that's super important for me. I need to know if these type of sessions are more valuable for you and so on and so forth. I'm also planning to do some things with Leon on the Think Cloud side on the podcast, and I will invite you to those as well. Now, Leon, if you are to take all of this information and condense it into 3 things, just 3 simple things that you would tell everyone, hey, guys, look at 1, 2, 3. and just go and do it, what would be these top three priorities you would look at?
So top three would be I'd go read. I've prepared this for you. I would go read the books Traction and Get a Grip from EOS, and I would look at starting to put EOS into your business. It's called Entrepreneur Operating System, and then within that there's a great book, a third book called Rocket Fuel, and that sort of explains the difference between being a visionary and integrator. Now, most businesses when they start, the visionary and the integrator is normally the same person. But where you get real good rocket fuel is to separate the visionary from an integrator. And we've had massive success by doing that. We've always followed this. But what's really changed us up in the last sort of 2 years is we've always self-implemented it because we've delivered it. We brought in an external coach to actually really bring that together. And it's been an absolute game changer. So I'm moving more into the vision. My goal is to get completely into the visionary seat. Scott is moving into the integrator seat. So I would look at EOS and look at planning the implementation. And I would definitely do it with an integrator, with a coach on it. If anyone's interested, I know coaches who could help, and we specialise in MSPs. But Traction and EOS operating system, I think it's a game changer, Andrei, because not only does it help you understand your role as a business owner, it helps you with the people, the culture, the org chart. It's a full operating system for your business. So, and every business I've ever worked in that you've seen, we've always run EOS within them businesses. So number one would be get EOS in there. Number two would be study marketing. Even though I didn't want to study marketing, I'm a big believer if you're going to manage it, you need to understand it. So the two books I highly recommend is Sostic Marketing. It's an absolute game changer. You can do a quick course on it. It's all free. If you follow that book to the letter, you will be successful. But even if you are able to follow it, if you learn it and then bring someone in to manage it, you will be successful. And then the third thing would be create amazing content that adds value. But the way you do that, go interview your 5 or your top 10 customers and ask them what keeps them up at night, what are the hopes and the fears and the dreams and the goals, and there's a set of questions which Andrei I'll send out to you, but ask them these I've got these set of questions and just go build content answering them questions, and then technically I'm going to give you 4, Andrei, because what I've said is put Entrepreneur Operating System into your business, learn about marketing and build content, but then if you want people to see it, go read this book, How to Get to the Top of Google, right? And it explains exactly how to get to the top of Google. There's my notes, right? All we've done over these last 4 years is follow exactly what that book said, and we are at the top of Google. It's a lot of pain, it's a lot of hard work, but you can't just outsource that, I don't believe. You have to do it in-house. And my final book for you is Traffic Secrets by Russell Brunson. But only read that after you've read the Sostic book, because it just explains that you've got to build funnels so people can come. And anyone watching, hopefully, I'll be preaching what I've taught. I'm only speaking to MSPs. There might be a deal for us to do in the future that we haven't even thought of. So I'm trying to connect to you and add value. I'll give you access to a funnel through LinkedIn. I'm going to give you access if you reach out to these tools. We might not ever do any business, but I'd like to think that I've added value to you, and one day there might be an opportunity for us. So, and my final thing is go make your own luck. That's it. Just get out there and add value.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you now understand why I've been so excited by this session and why I chose Leon. And I'm so, so happy that he accepted this. I hope that you will connect with us on the podcast as well when we do the podcast together. We have some amazing thing planned with some hacking exercises and so on and so forth. So thank you again for connecting. Thank you, Leon, for joining and bringing us more than we actually asked for, which for me is surprising. And I will share with everyone on that post session email all these details that Leon provided. But with that being said, thank you and see you in the next one. Stay safe.